So if you can't fix Wajir, then we dissolve it and everyone goes home. An approved collection of revenue. Governor, which version of finance bill are you using currently?
Chair, we've not passed a finance bill for 4 years, but currently for 2022-23, we have passed, and that's what we're using. We passed when we came into office.
You didn't have a finance bill for 4 years. So you are using the finance bill for which financial year?
We passed one for fiscal year 2022-23. The current year.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're now legally collecting.
No, but prior to that, which version of the finance bill were you using to collect rates and taxes?
2017-18.
2017?
18.
2017-2018.
Yeah.
Was it due to non-submission of the finance bill to the Assembly? Because this looks like an entire term of a governor in office.
Yeah.
So your is it predecessor or successor operated without a finance bill that reflected his development priorities?
When we came into office, we saw the drafts that and the foreign letters to the Assembly, but the Assembly never passed, and it was never progressed to assenting.
Bill. But the question is, what if it would have persisted for 10 years? But you know, it's an area we need to. There is a law at the national government level, Treasury, at the national government level. Assuming we didn't pass the finance bill, as Gerard Gay fears we shall not.
But it will pass, Chair. You know, we have numbers.
So at the national level, what would be? Would we use a prior finance bill, or there's a law that is invoked? There is a law that is invoked to execute that. Yeah, there is.
Yeah, I think when the finance bill is not passed.
OAG? Anyone who can remember it, Senator Mtata?
Oh, which the national government? Hello, Chair. Where the finance bill doesn't pass, that would mean even the Auditor General would not receive the warrant, what culminates to the presidential warrant. Yes. So the only money is available for use. Would it be contingency?
But I think the question was, is it allowable to use a 5-year-old finance bill or 10-year-old finance bill? Senator Mtata.
I think a finance bill basically is a taxing tool.
Yes.
Is a tool for raising revenue to finance a budget. But if the budget has been varied and then you don't have a finance bill, then it means that government cannot operate.
Irregular contribution to Council of Governors. This one, even without going into details, Governor, you are now the Vice Chair of the Council of Governors. The law as it is criminalizes contribution by counties to operational expenses of COG, because the Intergovernmental Relations Act has provided mechanisms for funding intergovernmental relations from the Consolidated Fund. Unless you can provide evidence that this money went towards specific activities, we shall deem this to be irregular expenditure, and on this we shall hold the Chief Executive Officer accountable for that irregular expenditure.
County-specific matters, and at least as of now, whatever it is, we will tie it directly to benefit to us.
Yeah, but Governor, you have not done what you're saying you should do. Your response says it was contribution for intergovernmental relations. Financial support for intergovernmental relations is defined in the law. So what you ought to have said is, fine, we paid rent through COG, we paid for devolution conference, We paid for training for our CECs. We paid for participation in some activity. That then we can consider. But there's no way counties are going to finance intergovernmental relations, which should be drawn from the consolidated fund. To the extent of the response before us, I think the CEO is guilty as charged and shall be surcharged 5.9 million as a regular expenditure. Senator Cherargei.
I think, Chair, we have made a decision on, even through the speakers, where they were remitting to council, CAF, Council of Assemblies Forum, that both governor, even if you are the vice chair of the COG, that this, there is no legal backing as to why you are remitting to Council of Governors. I wish what you should be telling us is that you are coming with a legal proposal to the parliament to give you powers to remit. We understand that you cannot induct one CEC. You sometimes some of these things need to be joined for efficiency and running of the COG. But what we are questioning, if you had the legal, you can quote the section of the law that gives you power to remit, then it would not be an audit query that could be raised to this level. So, but I think what you need to look, and your senator is the chairperson of devolution, our substantive chair is the immediate former chair of devolution. You develop a proposal and forward it to it, then when it comes to the floor, we can give it. But as at now, this is illegal, and the law is very direct. You need to be surcharged so that you pay this 5.9 million from your own personal account. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, fine. I think that there the point has been made. This 1.5 billion, is it verified?
Chair, with your indulgence, you know, for the liabilities, as I said, governors are sworn in before the end of August, and that's when they receive the assumption of office report. How then do we move from a liability of R1 billion shillings, say, as of 30th of June, and then you receive an assumption office report of 5-point-something billion?
So this was not remitted.
So on top of your 1.5 billion pending bill, Governor, there is another one of 3.5. Add that to your 1.5. Because you paid without deducting VAT and withholding tax. What was your response to this query?
Mr. Chairman, the management response says the chairman, Mr. Chairman, the actual contract sum was 45 million. The county government withheld the relevant taxes and the contractor was paid the net as stated below. And we have given the annexes. So that was the differential. So
but you have omitted two very important records, the invoice and the payment voucher. What tells us what was paid? It's a payment voucher, not the LSO, not the award letter, not the certificate. So in the absence of a payment voucher, we cannot agree with your submission.
Chair, I don't know, maybe just for layman understanding is that when you go to a shop and you buy this water, the ETR receipt or deducted directly is the shopkeeper that sells you. It does not come to the contractor. So I thought at that point it is the county which deduct that tax through the VAT and maybe makes returns to the necessary agencies.
Dr. Munyo?
Yes, I'm wondering whether this payment was done through the IFMIS, because I've operated IFMIS myself. I've been a user of IFMIS. And when you pay through the IFMIS, this deduction is supposed to come automatically. Now, was this payment done through the IFMIS? It's not upon you to decide. But I know you can circumvent.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. If you are not seeing, Governor, I think you understand why I'm asking for the payment voucher. Because in the absence of a payment voucher, what you are telling us is a story.
But Dr. Munyo is offering dangerous advice.
No, I think he must. I think he was a super user. He must have been a super user.
Chair, I'm not advising them to do that. circumventing means actually paying outside the IFMIS.
Yes.
But through the IFMIS, it is a very easy task. It just deducts.
But anyway, honorable members, Governor, without a payment voucher, how do we establish that your payment was net? Auditor General, is there anything else you need to see? Because for me, I want to see the payment voucher. It's not attached. Did you see the payment vouchers?
No, Chairman.
Did you even see the invoice?
No, Chairman.
Yeah, so without an invoice, without a payment voucher, I think we are, this is what we call stories ajaba. We are now speculating. Governor, are those available, or we conclude that this was a violation of the tax laws?
Chair, if you look at both the comments of the auditor and the response, the actual award, and we have put in here the LSO, not the invoice, and I note that, is for 45. But what we ended up paying is 43. And that is the difference is what we withheld. But we are acknowledging that we withheld at 2% as opposed to 6%. We are withholding agent. We're supposed to withhold and remit to KRA.
See, what you do, when you are invoicing this payment, you invoice separately. And therefore, IFMIS will show you the amount that has been made as a retention, and the 3%. It will show you. It's very clear.
So what is that?
If it is done correctly.
What is that record that you can get from IFMIS
system
to show you that breakdown? Because the governor said they paid net.
You can generate a report.
You can't.
IFMIS report.
Can you pay net in IFMIS unless you override? Because you've got your gross amount already. IFMIS is configured to deduct WHT and VAT.
No, you cannot pay the gross amount because it will deduct itself.
Yes.
Automatically. It's not your effort. You just invoice it. You have defined this payment. It will deduct and show you the amount that has been.
Okay, I think I know it's
currently, Chair.
It's 120
Sorry,
and,
Chair.
and sugar levels are going down.
Sorry, Chair.
Yes, Munyo.
The currently we are interfaced with the KRA. So KRA will be able even to you can confirm such a payment from KRA directly.
You see, Governor, what other conclusion can we arrive at in the absence of your payment vouchers, in the absence of that extract from IFMIS? We can only agree with the Auditor General.
It's not to say that actually there were no outages on taxation.
Audit is evidence-based. In the absence of evidence, we agree with the Auditor General, and we shall pronounce ourselves accordingly. Supply and delivery of emergency relief food.
Thank you, Chair.
Auditor General, you still have outstanding issues here?
Only one outstanding issue, and the issue number one, the last one. There is no evidence from the County Executive Committee member, Finance, that he sought approval from the County Assembly. We need that approval.
After making payments from the emergency fund?
Yes.
Was the entire 265 drawn from the emergency fund? It was drawn from the emergency fund. So if it was drawn from the emergency fund, then the emergency fund will be reviewed by the Public Investments Committee.
Yes.
It's a special fund.
Special fund.
Yeah. That unless there was commingling, unless there was a portion from emergency and a portion from the budget. Governor, was this wholly drawn from the emergency fund?
Yes, it was.
Paragraph 2 of this issue, the Auditor General stated that, in fact, there is nothing, there was no possible to confirm whether the foodstuffs were procured, were received, were distributed completely. That worries me, Governor. Did you solve this problem?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, unless I read the entire response, actually the response does say that we provided the beneficiary list and all the details.
Is it possible to, let's just be practical. We dealt with Marsabit yesterday. They've had a similar program. And beyond the S11, the stores issued. It's very difficult to tell which pastoralist got a tin of maize and beans. Is it practical to maintain that level of detail with integrity? Senator Gataya.
Chair, I think we should get some assistance from the Auditor General because maybe he has been too much on the ground. How do you go about verifying how much food has been distributed, the beneficiaries, whether the list is authentic, whether the people who are proposing to have benefited are the real ones who have benefited? How do you verify? Do you go on head count? You call from Plaza and say anybody who has received some food around, can you raise up your hand? How do you verify?
I thought maybe I thought verification is not hard because there should be some form of a form where you say this is Mwenda Gataya ID number.
That is just right. That is right. You can even sit in your bedroom.
Ate the food.
You can sit in your bedroom and craft a list. All the names are Ahmed, Mohammed, Haji, all these things that you put there. So how do you verify that?
I think we try to make this short.
That's a bit complicated.
OAG, how do you do it? And then, Governor, what's your view on the policy?
Thank you, Chair. I think during the briefing, I commented about the same issue, that even about bush clearing, this is really food. You are given the list of the names because as we examine the records, the list of names and the ID numbers. But then you are not there physically to see the food being distributed, and you cannot do head counting. Maybe you go to this location, to another location, another location. So we need the honest and transparency, even from, I think, from our auditees, that is it real that you are distributing real food to the intended people and for the intended purpose?
So in short, this exercise is just abused.
There is a great possibility of that.
Okay, Governor, what's your outlook on this?
Commenting on the drought just before the rains, it was pretty desperate. And actually, we sat in many meetings chaired by the Deputy President, where we actually been asked, to intervene and chip in and buy food. And in some of those food launches, when we were launching, even our senator, we invited him to come and see what it is that we bought and how we were doing this.
Senator Gataya.
Governor, in your quick calculations, how much money has Wajir received for the last, let's say, 10 years?
10 years?
Yeah. How many billions do you make per year?
And we, Chair, I mean, quite a bit of time to calculate that because we started with 5.2
just
in 2013,
rough estimate.
but now we're about, I think we're at about 10.
So how much money have you received?
And maybe 70 billion thereabout, yeah.
So around how much?
70 billion.
70 billion?
Yes.
And we are still talking about relief.
Yes.
And because counties that did not counties that were not supposed to take equalization fund took equalization fund.
Yeah, of course, yeah, definitely. No,
Which was
I
supposed
think
to,
it's shameful.
Yeah. Anyway,
I think what I can say in conclusion.
So irregularities in procurement of legal fees. Auditor General, was your observation explained?
Because of equity in distribution of services and everybody maybe needs income, to have just two law firms to represent the count, to me, I think it's unfair.
So your observation was that they spent 21 million,
yeah,
but of the 21 million, 17 million went to one farm.
To two farms.
To two farms, yes, at the expense of 20 others.
Yes.
Governor, would you just respond quickly in terms of Or just tell us what your response was here.
Chair, I think because of the delays the county was having in paying pending bills, many lawyers were a bit apprehensive to take up assignments. And these two are locals who have some satellite offices in the county.
You know, when we are talking about pending bills, the other thing that keeps coming up is legal pending bills. Do you have a big one in Wajir?
I can't remember the figure, but yes, because we have many cases in court. So, and we get taken to court quite often because of all these issues that you see. We are now in court for statute reductions for a number of pending bills issues. So we have to make some provision for legal fees.
I think when we are doing our first quarter review, you probably need to give us an idea on a picture on the bills arising from those legal issues. Not necessarily contingent liabilities, but whatever has been billed.
There are also legal fees from previous years where they're now following up with us to say, can you pay us? Some of them had stopped offering services.
Are those fees or penalties imposed?
Just legal fees. Lawyers who had done assignments for the county, but who weren't paid. And now they also are chasing for their payments.
Auditor General, could you please also have a look at that when you're doing your financial year audit? There's a long finding. Let's start from, I think let's guide it in a more conversational approach. What is your ratio of wages to total revenue currently?
We're at 39% now.
39%.
Yes.
In this financial year, you are at 32%.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Yes.
So you have grown it by 7%.
Yes, between that time and now.
Between 2020 and 2022, actually in 3 years. And so you have breached the PFM recommended threshold of 35%. Why do you look happy about it?
No, I'm not happy about it.
And so what measures are you taking? Because that is alarming. Your revenues have not grown by that percentage over the years.
Yeah. Chair, it's a problem. Both the percentage recurrent expenditure and the payroll costs as a percentage of the total budget is really out of ratio. We have 232 drivers.
232 drivers.
Yeah, we have 212 vehicles, but as I came into office, only 8 were working. So we have now fixed 170 of those vehicles.
So it was a ratio of 4 drivers to 40 drivers, isn't it?
Yes.
8 to 232.
Yeah, we only had 8 on the road.
So one driver was attended to by, one car was attended to by 40 drivers.
Yes.
For me then, with that description of that, the ratios are unfortunate. The number of casualties is completely misplaced. Even the composition of your staffing, where you have so many drivers to doctors, tells you that priorities are misplaced. I will want you to tell us whether there's an initiative you have taken to weed out ghosts, to rationalize, and when do you expect to complete it, and what outcome you expect. Senator Cherargei.
Governor, 2 quick concerns. One, are there employees that are paid outside IPPD as of now? And if there are, how many? Number 2, as the chair, just to build on what the chair said, have you, since taking office, you have made a comment about ghost workers, people who did not have proper documentation. Have you initiated any task force or any committee that looks at the number of human resource that you have? That is number 2, as in, is there a place, task force or a committee that looking at? If it is there, is the report ready, or when the report is ready, are you willing to share with this committee? Because I'm made aware you are not among the counties that had been taken for human resource. Finally, on the issue of casual employees. I've seen in one of the auditors also casual employees. How many are these people and who they are? Remember when Migori appeared chair, we used to have casual employees called Sangwenyas. And you know, governors have a habit of hiring casual laborers to cheer and jeer their opponents when they are attending. And most of the victims are normally senators. So are you these casual employees?
Victims of cheers or jeers?
Jeers. So most of these casual employees, as at now as the governor, how many are casual employees and how many have been working within the county government of Wajir, and whether those county employees, are you planning to transit them to permanent and pensionable? Because the Labor Relations Act is very clear that somebody cannot be just for casual laborer. And find another number 4 question. How many employees did you inherit from municipal defunct authorities of Wajir? And finally, there is a concern that you have taken over as the governor, and you might do political witch hunt against employees that were with your predecessor. Are there any intention on the line? Because we have had such complaints in some of the governors. As the governor who was lucky to have the second and final term, and we know you are building up on your legacy projects, are we likely to see political witch hunt against employees that you might think work with your successor and your predecessor or did not support your bid? Thank you, Chair.
Have appropriate ratios. But again, coming back to the question of witch hunt, given our delicate realities of clan dynamics, it might not be easy for me to just send away people. It's not that easy to just tell people to go away. Some of the governors have done that. I don't, at this point in time, intend to do that. What I intend to do is to clean up the payroll, take out the ghost workers, and probably decentralize a lot more people to the sub-counties and use them in different roles, maybe reallocate them. It is not easy to fire people.
Opportunity. I have to tell His Excellency the Governor that during his first term, he did marvelous work and was just becoming a model county. I wish, because our motto at the Office of the General is make the difference in the lives and lives of the Kenyan people. I hope you'll be of service to the people of Wajir. Thank you. And kindly be attending our entry and visit meetings.
Okay.